Hello, welcome. We are going to be talking about the film Pathaan for a very long time. Besides administering the Hindi film industry with the kiss of life, the film is going to be remembered as a very potent symbol of the power of cinema in creating a big cultural moment. While it rides on the heady charm of a most loved superstar, Shah Rukh Khan, it also combines sophisticated filmmaking with that dazzling emotional shorthand that comes with great storytelling. Behind throwaway dialogues and scenes that are the stuff of great memes are big ideas about life and being. To dig into the many layers of Pathaan on Media Dialogues today, I'm talking to the person who steers a film from a gleam in a storyteller's eyes to a screen release, the captain of the ship. My guest today is the director of Pathaan, filmmaker Siddharth Anand. Siddharth, lovely to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
And many congratulations.
Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you for having me.
And what does it feel like? You know, it's such a cliched question, but really, it's like, laddu foot rahe hai, nikal rahe hai, what is happening?
I think this is a question that I'm often asked these days. How does it feel like? But I must say that obviously it's exhilarating. This is the moment that that's what filmmakers live for, you work for, and you dream about a moment like this where your film smashes records every day, a new record, and forget that. Apart from that, it's the fact that the audience is giving so much love.
Let's talk a little bit about the numbers because they are quite critical. I think after 7 days or in the first week of release, the worldwide gross figures were in the region of 634 crores. We are in the 10th day as we
today.
record this.
Yes.
So in the second week. What do you have? Do you have an update? And what do these numbers mean really for this business? Because it is about sustaining this business.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
I think we've also done a record number within the first few days, within the first 5 days. And we probably, we've taken in a large part of the audience already inside, and then we've started getting repeat viewings. This is something which hadn't happened for a long time. People going in to watch the film the second and third time within the first weekend itself. It just means that people believe in cinema yet. People still want to go out there. We thought pandemic would have changed the viewing habits with the advent of the OTT formats and stuff like that. But people are happy to go to the theatre in droves, with families, with friends in large numbers. So that's a positive sign for the industry going ahead, I feel.
But do you have an update on the figures since the 7 days?
Every hour there's a new update.
What is the update as of this Friday afternoon?
I'm hoping, I'm hearing we're going to cross 700 crores today worldwide. So fingers crossed.
What does it mean to hear these kind of figures, these numbers, this kind of money that people are spending on something that you've created? What does it mean to you as a filmmaker? What does it mean to the producer, YRF Studios, which is in its 50th year with this film?
So glad. It's empowering, I would say. And it empowers you to spend more money because people are coming in to watch big spectacles. And if they wouldn't have come for this film, it would have changed a lot of things in the industry.
Like what?
You wouldn't have that kind of confidence or faith to put in big money behind spectacle films. It would change the kind of films we'd make. And I'm speaking this on behalf of everybody. The entire industry, what I hear, was waiting for the result of Pathaan. It couldn't have gotten bigger. You had a massive superstar, a massive production house, a franchise part of a universe, a director with a decent record, everything going for it. A cast that is stellar with Deepika and John playing a baddie, everything going for it. Big budget, songs which are blockbusters, teaser and trailers which have worked. This had to work. If it didn't, for whatever reason, let's say the film didn't work, then you wouldn't be able to pump in that kind of money. With what confidence? People are not coming back to theatres. They just don't want to watch films in theatres. We've seen that trend in the last couple of years post the pandemic, that a handful of films do numbers. You can't have that kind of a success ratio. And success also which is not great. We hadn't yet touched the pre-pandemic numbers. War, which was
your last film,
had done 300. No film had come close to 300 since the pandemic, since 2019.
No Hindi film.
In Hindi. That is the last film that did 300. Since 2019, I'm talking about.
So, Siddharth, how do you insulate yourself from this surround sound You know, it seems like overwhelming pressure. Shah Rukh's return after 4 years, you know, the Hindi film industry and the business and where it was, the, you know, the cultural, the political zeitgeist. How do you tune that out? Do you tune that out? How aware are you?
I think, you know, because I've been actually, I'm actually a third generation film kid.
Yes.
You know, so I've seen lots of ups and downs, and I know that everything is transitionary. So the fact that, so I'm not taking even this success too seriously, because I know it's all about that Friday, and I've seen giants fail, and then, you know, you don't talk about them, you just skip them, actors don't respect them, they don't do their films. I've seen a lot of that around, you know, because I mean, I've seen that growing up with other people, and people who I respected, who I looked up to, who were sort of silent mentors, I would call. So in that sense, I know it's transitionary, so you don't take anything seriously. And the pressure as such, you'll always have pressure. If your last film is a failure, you'll have pressure of that. If your last film is a success, you will have a different pressure. So that's something that has to be inherent, and you have to be able to take it.
But this time, there were so many more pressures on top of these normal pressures, right?
Now you're making me realize it. Thankfully,
No,
I was insulated. I insulated myself from it with blinkers. Honestly, to put it factually, we had a lot of work pending on the film while the marketing of the film was on, and when this noise was surrounding us, we had to really complete the film and put it out there. So we had that pressure. So we could insulate ourselves from that. So we had a lot of VFX, sound designing, the IMAX prints had to go in time. So we had a lot of things that we were working on. The entire team was working on, Adi, me, we were working on, you know, through the night. So we could insulate ourselves. I think Shah Rukh was somebody who would have felt the pressure, I feel.
Let's talk a little bit about Shah Rukh Khan, because this film, I went and saw it on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, the day it released, and an afternoon show. And I was like, I came out and I was like, oh my God. It was, for me, it was a rediscovery of Shah Rukh Khan. I felt like this is the guy, you know, I felt the way I felt when I saw Fauji. I was like, who is this?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
it was almost like a rediscovery, to me personally, of Shah Rukh Khan. That was the first part of it, the heady charm. And then I realized as the movie went along, how much fun I had, how charming things were, and how seemingly simple, and yet, like you heard in my introduction, there were some big ideas floating in there if you wanted to find them. So, so many things to unpack here, but let's start with Shah Rukh Khan.
You know, every film of his, I think, comes with a little bit of his personality somewhere. Chak De has his resilience, and Pathaan has his flamboyance. It's a lot of Shah Rukh Khan in Pathaan. It's the kind of tongue-in-cheek humor he uses, the kind of larger-than-life persona that he is. So Pathaan is actually Shah Rukh Khan. I couldn't take another actor and make the same film. It wouldn't be the same thing. His charm, the way he's about women, the way he's about his country, everything is Shah Rukh Khan himself. So yeah, it's not a biopic, but it's a lot to do with his personality.
So you distilled the essence of Shah Rukh Khan in this film, isn't it?
Imbibed it, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, someone was talking to me and said, you know, but it was okay. It's not a romance. I want to see Shah Rukh in a romance. He was not romancing anyone. I said, hello, he was romancing all of us together at the same time.
So true.
You know,
so true.
Gender neutral, age neutral, just every human being.
Well, that is so true.
He was romancing in this movie. It's interesting for me to hear you say that this was really the essence of Shah Rukh Khan, because at the post-release press conference that you guys did, I think it was John Abraham, somebody said, you know, Shah Rukh is not an actor, he's an emotion. He's a feeling.
Yeah.
It sort of cues in from there.
Absolutely. That's the sentiment I think I realized towards the end of the film is what the audience expects out of him. They expect love. They expect positivity. And there's an unsaid romance that he has with his audience. Like you said, it's gender neutral, age neutral. I'm seeing videos of older people, you know, plowing themselves through snow and going to watch the film. It's all over the internet. That they're just breaking out of their homes to come and watch him. And yeah, so I think it's his personality that really has led this craze more than anything else.
He said something at the press conference which I found interesting. He said that everybody who worked on that film, of course starting with you and Aditya Chopra, and then everybody else down the line,
wished well for the film.
just wished well for the film and for him.
For him.
Tell me a little bit about that emotional underpinning to this experience of making and creating this film.
So let's for the time being take out the fact that his last few films didn't work. That he's the underdog coming into Pathaan. Let's take that out because it's not true. The personality that he is on set, when he walks into the room, he will greet everybody, good morning, good morning, good morning. And if he's late, I'm so sorry I'm late. And at the end of the shoot, he'll say, thank you guys, thank you so much, thank you. The guy on the tarafa up there, thank you. He'll say that. He'll acknowledge the hard work they're putting in. That makes everybody root for him. Everybody wants to work harder so that he succeeds. That is what he means when he says that, because he could feel the love everyone wanted to give him. Everyone wanted to give their best for the film. Everyone wanted him to succeed. So I think that's what he's talking about, because that's all him. Yeah, because you rarely have stars. Stars normally, are full of themselves. When they walk, they are generally 2 inches above the ground. It's not real. We do that. We put them on the pedestal. We give them that special feeling that, oh, you're different. When you walk into the room, we all stand up. So we do that for them. So it's about natural that they'll feel like that. But Shah Rukh doesn't want you to. He disarms you completely with his humor, with his easy charm. Whoever it is, whether he meets my family or whether he meets you or he meets the Lightman's family, he's the same. He'll give that much respect, that much time. If you want a picture, he'll make sure he's there. Even if he's tired, he'll do that. So how can you not root for his success?
Is it also because of the particularly challenging year that it was for him personally in the past year? We know about the kind of harassment that happened to his son, right? And we know that it was absolutely a travesty of justice.
So, there's something a filmmaker told me before I started shooting for Pathaan, who's worked with him. He told me one thing, that now you're going to work with Shah Rukh, you'll never want to work with anybody else. You'll always want to work with him. And I wondered why he said that. And he had made a film with Shah Rukh at his peak of stardom. That means he felt the same what I felt during Pathaan. And that you're talking about after he's gone through whatever he went in the past year. That means that's him. It's not the situations that drove him to do this. That's him. Even today, I'm thinking constantly, what do I do next with him? I'm driven by it. I mean, he's so giving. And as a filmmaker, he is everything you imagined an artist to be. He's not the star, he's an artist.
You said in that press conference that he's like clay. Yeah, and that if a film with Shah Rukh Khan does not do well, it's the director who has failed him. So, Siddharth, now so you're saying that he gives it all. And he's willing to follow whatever you tell him. So then if the films that don't do well, you're saying the blame lies with the director?
This is the thing that I'm not saying it after my film was a success. This is something I constantly said it 2 months into starting working with him. We knew each other, but we had never worked with each other, barring a couple of ads. We had never worked with each other. So I didn't know what it is actually. It's post working with him, him coming with this superstar baggage. I realized that like I said, he's an artist. You tell him anything, there is no question. There is no questioning your ability or what you had imagined. You wanted this, I'll do it. You want me to stand and say this? You want me to sit and say it? You want me to blink at this time? You want to keep my lips open at that time? You want me to turn at this point? Okay, stop, cut. Now I'll resume this from here. Not that, listen, I'm in that flow. Let me say this line while I'm looking at this person. No, sir, I don't want you to say this. I want you to turn to the camera, off camera, and I'm going to cut and take the shot from here. And I want you to look down. Okay, done. There's no questioning why.
Blind faith.
Blind faith. That's when I realized, and I said this to my producer, that, if this film fails, it's all me. Because he's just left everything to me. And then he told me, he said that if I don't submit to you, why am I doing this film? Because I believe you know this film better than me. And I want to do this film with you. So if I'm going to doubt you and question you, then I shouldn't be doing this film. So that's his theory, and he always says that.
What is the strength of Pathaan, you think, when you're watching it with audiences, when you're hearing reactions come in, when you're hearing reviews come in,
Yep.
and some of them have not been charitable, in the sense
Yep.
they love the phenomenon of the film,
Right.
but they don't think it's a good film. There have
Right.
been people
Right.
who've said, you know, maybe war is better, or the story is illogical, or whatever.
Right.
Okay? So what do you think, in hindsight, works for this film?
Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah.
Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah.
And I would attribute the promise of this film. The promise of this film comes from the trailer. So when you saw the trailer, you expected entertainment, action, and a certain energy and pace in the film. And you get exactly that. The film is an extension of the trailer. So if you liked the trailer, you were going ahead and booking tickets in advance. Advance bookings were record-breaking. That means you were expecting something like the trailer, and you got that. And maybe a little more. Maybe a little more. I think that's the promise. We didn't fool the audience that you're coming to see something extra, something intellectual, or something that's going to change your life and your thinking. You came to see a spectacle film, and you got just that.
Let's talk a little bit about the craft, okay? And let's break this up into two bits. Let's talk about the story, the writing, the spy-verse, the name Pathaan, which I
Yep.
believe you've had for a while.
Years.
Yeah, why?
You know, I've had this this fetish for collecting titles. So I had collected Bang Bang, Pathaan, and I have a few more titles as well. And I don't know if I'll make them.
You register them.
I register them. In fact, I'd registered even Jawan is my title. And when Shah Rukh sir wanted the title and he asked me for it, I obviously there's no debate on that. So I have this habit that, you know, if I think of something, I go and register it
So why
for
Pathaan?
myself. It probably stems from my desire to have wanting to work with him, for that desire. And I thought that title spells some sort of energy, some action, and Shah Rukh Khan. So I thought maybe that will lure him.
As simple as that.
As simple as that. So maybe he'll want to do my film because it's called Pathaan.
Let's talk about the writing, because I think there's a lot of humor, right? There's a lot of, you said it right up front, Shah Rukh's wit and easy charm and, you know, his way of speaking, you managed to capture that in the dialoguing. So take us through some of the writing, also because this is a film that took some time to write. So one part of it is the writing of it and getting that script done, and the other part is actually shooting it. This kind of an action thriller,
we can break it down.
Spectacle. Yeah, please do.
So, you know, I try and take away a little bit of a learning from my previous films. So if I'm talking about, let's say, Bang Bang, what I felt lacked in Bang Bang was a little gravitas and a strong antagonist. I applied that in War. I brought that, I made it dramatic, I brought the gravitas, I made a formidable antagonist.
Yeah.
My takeaway from War now, what I felt War lacked, was a little humor. I felt it was a little too serious and dramatic, the film. That is the only thing that I would want to inject in War. I took that and put that in Pathaan. I was certain that it had to have a certain level of humor, light humor, tongue-in-cheek humor.
Self-deprecatory also.
Probably. That also comes from Shah Rukh. So that, obviously, once we had the seed of the film, then obviously we got an Abbas to do the dialogues, and the brief was that we need to, obviously, without making it frivolous, we want it to be funny. And tongue-in-cheek humor, not laugh out loud. So not situational, because it's a thriller at the end of the day. So smart one-liners here and there. Whether some people get it or don't get it is okay. There'll be a chuckle in the theatre. At every now and then there'll be a chuckle. So it's a light atmosphere that you create in a thriller like this, which is so fast-paced. So that went into the dialogues of the film,
Right. And what about the emotional underpinning? War had quite a strong emotional underpinning. This one, not so much, and yet it's there, right? I mean, I think again, I'm quoting you. You said an action thriller will be boring if it doesn't have an emotional underpinning.
You know, being patriotic also is an emotion, is a strong emotion. A man who's fighting for the country versus a man who's fighting against it. That was the basis of Pathaan. Coupled with the fact you have interpersonal relationships where you have Deepika betraying Shah Rukh, the emotion of that, Shah Rukh putting his faith in her and then her betraying him. You have a mother-son kind of a relationship between Dimple ma'am and Shah Rukh.
Yeah.
That is an equation where he loses her and then he has to take revenge at the end of Act 2. These are subtle emotions. I knew at the onset I wanted to make a film that is a ride. Not dramatic, a ride.
Yeah.
So it's itemized. You will have an item every 10 minutes, whether it's a song or it's a scaled up action sequence or a death or a loss or a twist. You will have something every 10 minutes. So you're always going to be glued to the screen. You will hardly have moments where you want to take out your phone and check it. That was my barometer. And to make it a fast-paced ride. I'm not chasing to replicate the success of War. I wasn't chasing that. I didn't want Pathaan to be a Me Too of War. He's made the same film again. So I wanted the experience to be a little different. And I'm hoping that also with Fighter, for example. I'm not replicating Pathaan at all. So I'm trying to break that expectations every time. And yet give you a feeling of that you're watching my film.
And it's very, very rooted in the language of mainstream commercial cinema, isn't it?
Yeah. So that is something that's again inherent. That I have it in me. It's in my blood. Commerce.
Do you think in the last few years the Hindi film industry has tried to go away from this the core of what makes it work?
Yeah. So we have tried.
I mean, even songs have gone out of the movie, isn't it?
You know, very interestingly, I was leaving in 2010 to shoot my film Anjana Anjani. At that point in time, you know, there was a certain shift in the audience's tastes where, you know, there's some things like, oh, we still don't do lip sync songs. You know, how can you have people singing and dancing and lip syncing to songs? There was a kind of a period in that where we didn't know where we stood in terms of theatrical films and what kind of tastes audiences have. And just before leaving, I saw Three Idiots. And in Three Idiots, there was a scene where I think Kareena is going through some photographs, an album, and she sees one picture and that camera zooms into that and turns into Zubi Zubi Dubi, that song. And it's lip sync, dream sequence. And that film was a landmark film. It was the first film to do 200 crores. I had not planned to do lip sync songs in Anjana Anjani. I left that night for my shoot in New York and I changed. I said, no man, cinema still... You still enjoy it. You can't be afraid. You can't be ashamed of Hindi commercial cinema and try and say, no, I want to just... So that's why Anjana Anjani somewhere got stuck in between trying to do something different, which I was trying to do. I had made an out-and-out commercial film, Bachna Hasino, before that. I said, maybe let me try something which is a little off, but yet commercial. It's about two strangers who meet at the lowest point in their life, want to commit suicide. And they decided to do it a few days later and find reasons to live. So it's only two characters and their journey. Within that, there'll be fun elements and stuff like that. So I tried to do something different, but I realized, no, you need to get back. Hindi cinema audience has not changed. We are not catering to them. That's why films are not doing businesses. We were shuttling between intellectual cinema, more realistic films and small films with big ideas. We were gravitating towards that. But when you make a big tentpole action film that speaks to all four quadrants and the lowest common denominator, this is the result.
It's basically a universal audience, to be able to communicate to a universal audience. That was actually the almost the secret of very good commercial mainstream cinema, isn't it? And that somehow was lost in the past decade or so.
You have to be unabashed. You can't be saying that, okay, this is cringe.
No apologies.
But you have to understand your target audience. You have to understand who are the people who are coming to theatres and driving those numbers. India is that audience. I saw a video of a truck outside a cinema hall, a Tata truck, and people pouring out of that truck to go into the theatre to watch Pathaan. That's my audience. That's why we have such large numbers. That's your audience. You can't intellectualize films. You can, of course you can. But then your TG is that. You have to understand who you're catering to. I can't make a 200, 250 crore film and expect only intellectual people and the high-end multiplexes audiences coming to cater to it.
Which is what I think is Pathaan's achievement, that you have managed to bridge that gap. And I think there is a little bit for everybody in that sense.
That way it's a little clever in that. So it doesn't isolate anybody, it speaks to everybody.
I want to talk a little bit about your previous films, because a lot of people who are not following the film industry very closely may say that you're actually quite a low-profile filmmaker. You've made 7 films?
Yes.
7 films,
Yes.
including Pathaan.
Yes.
And most of them have been hits.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And yet we haven't really, you know, there are filmmakers who are high-profile.
Yeah.
Why is Siddharth Anand not a high-profile filmmaker? I've spoken to several in the
Yeah.
past decade or more. I've never met you before.
You wouldn't have heard of me.
No, that's not fair. But why what is it? A conscious effort to be low profile?
Yeah, it's deliberate to try and protect my anonymity, I would say. So recently I went to Gaiety and I sort of got mobbed. I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want to put myself out there. I'm comfortable being behind the camera. Even coming to give an interview, there's a sort of hesitancy in me. I'm very comfortable behind the camera giving instructions. So what happens is, I'd rather let my work speak because I'm there for that. My actors have to be in the forefront. I don't, a director and a star, there should be that distinction between that. I believe that.
But there are star directors and authors, people who write their movies and then direct them, and you have written or co-written
I
almost all your films.
I have in the
isn't it?
past. Even This Story Is Mine, story screenplay I'd co-written with Sridhar and Adi in War. Yeah, I do that. But the thing is, I prefer to just stay very low key. I don't know where it stems from. Also, when I see other people shouting and screaming for attention, I think that somewhere puts me off. And I'm like, no man, I can't be doing that. So I don't want them to think of me like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Unusual?
I think it's important.
You're not even very active on social media, are you?
I'm not on any social media.
You're not on any social media. Forget active. You're not on social media.
I'm not on social media. Also, that's good because I feel it's kind of a depressant. Because what happens on social media is people put out their best times, and you always feel the other person is having a better time than you.
Yeah.
So I feel it just depresses you. Oh my God, I'm not at that party. Oh my God, I'm not doing this. Oh, I'm not on that holiday. Oh my, look where that person is holidaying. So I feel that's not needed. That's just noise, white noise. Shut it off and just do your work and stick to your reality.
Let's talk a little bit more about your work, and that is that you began with rom-coms, but actually pretty sharp, not commentary, but almost sharp probing of contemporary gender relationships. Okay, Bachna Hai Hasino, I thought was a very good film. I know a lot of young men really identified with it, and it was a film about the male psyche, and yet it was also a lot, gave you a perspective of about women, right? Even with Salam Namaste, with Tararam Pam Pam. Where did you pivot away from the slightly smaller films in terms of scope? In terms of scope, and where did you move into Bang Bang, War and now Pathaan, and then I'm guessing Fighter?
Yeah. So honestly, it's not conscious. I used to think of ideas. At that point in time, I loved making those slice of life films that people could relate to. I love it when I can make something that in the audience someone can say, oh my God, I'm like that. Oh my God, I know my friends like that. I love that feeling in a theatre. But I've been there and I've enjoyed watching films like that where I say, hey, that's you. I love that. What happened over a period of time is that I thought we got exhausted of ideas and conflicts in that zone. At least I did. Nothing came to me. And fortunately, I got the opportunity to shift gears and get into a genre which I had never even thought of attempting. A genre that honestly, Anuradha, didn't exist in our country. We didn't have this kind of action films ever in our country. Bang Bang was one of its kind at that point in time to have Hollywood-style action and scale. We had very few films. Maybe Dhoom was one of them, had done something like that before. So it's something that happened by chance, and I took a liking for it, and somewhere I found my calling in that. Now I'm living off it. So it's just accidents.
You won't try and attempt to go back to a Bachna kind of movie. What I mean by that is it's interpersonal relationships that you're probing, and that's the focus.
There's certain expectations of me that that these are the kind of films that I want to do also. Right. And
certain expectation. Your own expectations?
I think audience expectations. I think my partner's expectations, because this is something that I'm I'm doing well right now, and it is a genre that is still very nascent. And we have an action genre in the South. We have action genre in the West.
Yeah.
In Hindi films, there are hardly any action films being made. And if I'm at the forefront, I'd like to do it for a while and see where it goes. Although if somebody comes up to me and gives me a great love story, I'm dying to do it. I'm dying to do something. I keep telling Hrithik we must do a love story soon enough. I want to see Hrithik in a love story.
I'd like to see
an out and out love story, looking good, good locations, a good conflict, beautiful people. I want to see that. But I don't have a story. So
Not
I'm
yet.
focusing on what I'm doing well right now.
But is it also because the spectacle, action thriller allows you to really push the envelope when it comes to the technical craft of cinema, isn't it?
That's damn exciting, you know. So even if I have a car chase in a film, I try and do something different with it. Like let's say do it in the Arctic Circle. If I have a bike chase, let's do it on a frozen lake.
Yeah.
If you have an aerial chase, let's use jetpacks. So it's like a kid in a candy store. And tech today allows us to do it. So I'm having fun right now. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the relationship with YRF because Adi Chopra is your producer. He's also worked on some stories with you, even the earlier films, right?
Yeah.
And you debuted with YRF. You've done a few films outside of YRF.
Yes, couple of them.
Your success has been with Yash Raj films. Give us a sense of the relationship that you have. Give us a sense of the studio, which is, you know, I know Netflix is now talking about something called The Romantics, which is talking about YRF and its 50 years. And here you are, and here is Aditya Chopra talking about the spy universe and pivoting, not pivoting, but doing action, spectacle, thrillers. What's happening?
So Adi is in the truest sense my mentor. He's someone that I really, really look up to and respect, and I do that with very few people. So he's someone who's really earned that, and I'm sure he's like that for a lot of other people. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to work with him very, very closely. And he would agree that we form a very, very good team. So we rarely.
How do you complement each other? Could you illustrate that?
You know, by God's grace, touchwood, we rarely have a conflict as such. Touchwood, I don't want to jinx it, because we understand where we're coming from, what I'm trying to bring in. So sometimes, for example, if I'm telling him at the end of war, listen, I want to go shoot this car chase in the Arctic Circle. Any producer would say, listen, I've spent so much money. This action should wind up in the ship itself. The climax is on a ship, which is breaking ice. Hrithik lands up there, you shoot the climax. Anyone would do that. And I felt, no, I need to get out. I need to bring a little bit more spectacle towards before the last encounter. I need to step out, and then they should get into a fight. He understood that. And we put in a lot of money, a lot of muscle and might to be able to go get cars that can run on ice in Finland. So it's like we actually saw a sign eventually when we went to shoot there that says, welcome to the Arctic Circle, which you see normally saying, welcome to Gurgaon.
Yeah.
When you enter Delhi, they saw, welcome to the Arctic Circle. We crossed into it. So he's somebody who understands me, and I'm not doing it just for spending the money and for being unreasonable. And obviously, sometimes when I do it, I'm going to shut up, and he also understands where that is coming from. So there's a certain understanding that we have. And when he says no to something, I know why he's saying that. So always, when he says no, he'll come up with an alternative also. There's a huge, deep-rooted understanding and deep-rooted respect for each other. That has to be, it has to be mutual. That is the reason for our success. That is the secret of respecting each other's craft. I've been making films, rather working with him, since 2001. I was an AD on 2 films, so it's not 22, 23 years. When we used to work out of Vikas Park, which was a smaller office, and then we moved to the studio. So I understand that, why he is being imposing on something, and he understands why I'm being stubborn for something. So there's an understanding and respect. And so that's our secret. So there's no ego. And he's a man who has no ego. He's anybody, you know, the best part about him is that you can go up and tell him something, and you can be rest assured he's taking it in the spirit of exactly why you're saying it. And not wondering that you have any ulterior motives or something. He's no games.
So there's a lot more work lined up together?
I hope so. I hope so. I would love to keep making films with him. I hope he still wants to.
I'm pretty sure that hope is not an ill-founded one, isn't it? After Pathaan. Okay, let's do a couple of closing questions. You mentioned your family. You're a third-generation filmmaker. Belong to a film family. So you have a view of the film industry and its ethos up close, how it works and what makes it tick. So give me a sense of how you see the film industry, given that it's been the focus and spotlight of so much of political agendas.
You know, it's actually the audience that decides who stays in and who doesn't within the industry. So if you have me and you have an Adi, you also have a Shah Rukh Khan and you also have a Raju Hirani, who's a complete outsider. He started off as an editor. It's his talent and the fact that people enjoyed his films that brought him in and is here at the top of his game. So I think it's something where your work speaks more than anything else. And we have a lot of examples of a lot of people who are third and fourth generation kids who have not made it, unfortunately. So it's got a lot to do with what your inherent talent is and what how much it connects with the audience.
In the past year, more than the past year actually, there has been a sort of battering that's happened of the industry, okay? So nepotism, you know, bad habits, hidden political agendas of secularism, if that can be a bad thing, but you know what I'm talking about. So how do you explain what the film industry is to people who don't understand it and who may be getting carried away by agendas?
I think it's unfounded, honestly. It's an agenda of very small pockets. When you talk about nepotism and such, I say, find me a better actor than Ranbir Kapoor. Find me a better actor. Not just because he is Rishi Kapoor's son and Raj Kapoor's grandson, doesn't mean he shouldn't be in the industry. Find me a better actor than Ranbir Kapoor. And then I'll understand it. He is such a good actor. Why shouldn't he deserve to be in the industry? And you have calls for boycott and things like that. It's just small groups trying to make some noise, and for their moment in the sun. So allow it, and it's just white noise. Just insulate yourself and just keep working.
Keep working. And keep telling us stories that sort of flatten differences and that manage to connect intellectuals as well as the first bencher, right?
The lowest common denominator, front benchers.
Lowest common denominator also makes things universal, isn't it?
That's our idea.
That's the flip side of being, of appealing to the lowest common denominator, is that you can manage to make something that connects universally.
That's the idea.
Siddharth, thank you. It was a lovely conversation and I did enjoy your film very, very much.
I'm so glad.
And look forward to all the others and look forward to more conversations.
Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for watching. Look out for more conversations on Media Dialogues right here on CNBC-TV18.